What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back with another bootcamp video, and I really want to make sure you guys are doing good. All right. I've tried not to make too many jokes. I've tried to keep this as professional as possible, and it can be boring, but that's the point because if you can't keep up with a boring video, then how are you going to be able to keep up with watching the market for 2 hours and not doing anything and then finally taking a trade after 3 hours? And meanwhile, you're sitting there starving to death. You want to eat, you want to go do something else, but you have to watch the market and you need to, and if you want to make it out, you're going to need to take a trade, right? Like, trading is not easy, it's boring, and you can make it fun. I've made it fun. Like, I stream every day and I make it fun to people, but it just depends on the day. Some people like they complain because some days they say I sound sleepy. Does it matter? Does it affect my trading performance? No. Some days I'm like really upbeat. Some days I'm um, making a bunch of jokes. Does it affect my trading performance? No. I trade the same no matter what. And it can be boring, but you can make it fun. It depends on what we want to do. So just making sure you guys are enjoying this, and hopefully you are getting the most out of it. I've gotten some really nice emails of people who have sent me emails saying like this is the notes I've had, and they're incredible. They're better notes than I would ever take. But so I just want to say keep it up. All right. So in this video, so this is going to be about kill zones. Now, when I say the word kill zone, no, I'm not talking about Call of Duty. Okay. No, some of you guys might think that. A kill zone is a specific period of time where the volume typically is higher than normal, and good volume equals good price action as we've gone over. Okay. And just to reiterate, price action is just basically just means like how good price is moving. Okay. That's what like price action is, just watching the candles and watching like the trend as a whole. So that's what a kill zone is. It's just a specific time. There's 3 kill zones, which I'll go over. There is London, Asia, and New York. Okay, so those are the 3 kill zones, and I will tell you the times in a second. Now, let me show you how easy it is to search the times. If I just go to Google, and if I just type in kill zones, ICT, I'm sure you can find some sort of sheet, some sort of whatever that tells you the kill zones. And sure enough, you found it already. So we see that London kill zone right here is 2 to 5 a.m. AM, New York kill zone is 8:30 to 11 a.m. PM is 1:30 to 4 p.m. Okay. Now you can clearly see here. This is everything else you need. I could just go to this one too. And then Asia is 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And I actually think this might be for Forex because I think Asia is actually a little different. So maybe don't trust everything you see on the internet. I'm almost certain. I think Asia is actually 8 o'clock to midnight. Um, let's see here. I'm pretty sure it's 8 o'clock to midnight is but again, that doesn't matter because the Asia kill zone is the one you're actually not going to trade. So let's see this one. Yeah, so look at this one. This one is 2000 to midnight. So that's the futures kill zone. When I say kill zone, everything I refer to is going to be for futures, for NQ, for ES. They are a little different for Forex. If you go in my Discord, if you guys aren't already in my Discord yet, make sure to join that. If you go on my website, you can join it for free. By the way, don't forget to use code Dodgy for an Apex account. 80% off for the next couple days. And yeah, if you go to my Discord, go to the study channel. I have the kill zones pinned somewhere. Okay, you just scroll up and you can find this. Yeah, right here. So kill zones for Forex, kill zones for indices. The New York one does differ a little bit, but it's not like a big difference. So you can use this cheat sheet if you want. It's in my Discord. So make sure to join that. So why, like, what is important about a kill zone? Well, the number one thing about trading is time. Okay, a lot of people ask me. They usually say like, "What do I need to trade in a kill zone?" Now the answer is yes and no. So when we talk about volume, like, I'm not going to turn on a volume indicator or anything, but just know that most volume is going to be coming in these kill zones. Now, we already saw in the volume video that when I turned on the volume for New York session, okay, you saw a huge spike in volume at 9:30 right here. So there's a huge spike in volume right here. Now, why was there a huge spike in volume? Well, there was a huge spike in volume because that's literally when the market opens. That's when so many orders from overnight are sitting there waiting for the market to open, and then finally they execute them at open. Okay, so that's why they sit there. But statistically speaking, okay, kill zones, the New York AM session kill zone, which I will actually turn on an indicator now for, which you guys can use this if you want. This one's a very good indicator. It's called ICT kill zones plus pivots. So statistically speaking, when we are in these kill zones, that's typically when the volume gets good enough to where price action is pretty good. Now, I do have to change the time a little bit because it's probably in UTC minus, so I think I have to go to UTC -5 for this. But you can see they're an hour off. So this is only 9:30. Oh, I see. It's because of this. So New York AM starts at 8:30. All right, and then there's obviously lunch from 12 to 13, and then 13:30 to 1600. That's the PM session. So, again, they're all labeled for you. Now, this video is not going to help you like be profitable. It's going to make you aware, like you're going to see statistically better price action inside these kill zones most of the time. So, like, a lot of people, what if we trade before the 8:30? Well, here's the thing. You can, but statistically speaking, when the volume comes in, price action tends to be better. So you can occasionally get good price action from like 5 to 8 o'clock, right? London kill zone ends at 5 o'clock. And we have gotten good price action from 5 to 8 o'clock. But here's what I'm going to tell you guys, right? This is real talk. This is not me being like, oh, you should trade only the kill zones only. This is real talk. This is how you become profitable. This is what I did. You need to trade everything until you get a feel for what's going to work and what's not going to work. Because I know people who do not trade outside of the kill zones because they typically don't trade well. I know people who trade outside of the kill zones. I literally, people in my Discord chat, in my private group, I wake up in the morning, there's like 2 hours worth of chats just for this price action because it tends not to be bad for them. Like, it depends. And although ICT says don't trade outside the kill zone, it's not like a set rule because what might work for someone might not work for someone else. So you need to experiment with it, but you should be aware of the kill zones. Like, there's a lot of rules. So obviously, if you see a really bad New York AM session, like really choppy, this wasn't really too bad. You typically see a good lunchtime session. So we'll get like a nice lunchtime session. Clearly, we have a nice, good ranging AM session here. So lunch doesn't really do much. Same with PM. Now, if I go to a time where AM was, let's see, a little worse. Let's see if I can find a good example here. I just gotta. So you can experiment with this indicator. You have to, if you could do like 10 session drawing limit, so it goes back 10 sessions. So here's another one. New York ranged so much, and you're gonna see PM or lunchtime was trash and PM was trash. You can clearly see, like, let's see. Here, same kind of thing. AM range a little bit. Now, this is like where it gets. This is where my bootcamp will start getting subjective. This is just based off what I've seen. I mean, not everything I say you're gonna know. Like, not everything I'm gonna say is gonna carry over 2 years later down the road because you might think something different. Anyways, I think ranging price action and good price action are two very different things. We can get ranging price action, but it could be bad. And that still will make for a good lunchtime or PM session. Like, there's times where I will see a really big New York AM session, but like, let me show you an example here. This is where it gets really advanced. All right. Let's say we're coming down. We got some sort of sell side beneath us. Sell side's down here. Okay. So let's say we have a sell side line down here. And let's say New York is just dumping. But let's say we have a fair value gap here. But what you see happen is you see price go above that bearish fair value gap and then back down again. That is not clean price action. And typically, if you start to see that, but New York is moving a lot, we can definitely still get a good lunchtime or PM session. So just be mindful of that. Like if you ever see the bias like bearish or bullish, but we're kind of going above and below for rally gaps, that's one sign where it's not really a great session. So let me see if I can find an example. I'm sure I'll be able to find one here in a second. So let's see here. It's just you want to look for an example where you kind of go above and below for rally gaps again. It's just not clean price action. I'm sure I'll be able to find one real quick. Okay, so I mean, this is on the 1 minute chart. This probably is one. So on the 1 minute chart, this is an example. I mean, there's more to the market. Okay, there's more to the market, and yes, this is a liquidity sweep, and I do agree that just because we violated this does not mean we're bullish. Okay, so this is your liquidity sweep. But let's say we were downtrending all day, and then you just kept seeing this. You just kept seeing, let's say there's a fair value gap here. You saw this. You saw us pump through this and then go down, and then you saw another one pump through this bearish gap and then go down. It's just not good price action. Good price action will cleanly deliver. Mostly will reject his fair value gap, and that's clean price action. So if you ever see price action like this, and you can even kind of tell on the way down here, I mean, it's just not the clean. I mean, it's not like we're not expanding, but it's just not. There's not many gaps being created, if that makes sense. So it's not the greatest, okay? And that will typically lead to a good AM or PM session in that case. So if I turn back on this indicator, it's just called kill zones plus pivots. Again, the main thing you want to know is you typically will want to try to trade between that AM in New York, which is 8:30, to the PM of the kill zone. Why? Because the volume is better. We're going to get better price action most of the time, and that's that. Now, for my people who live in Europe, I do not trade London. I can't tell you much about London. People in my private Discord trade it all the time. It seems to be fine, and that's fine. I'm a New York trader. I will say this: if you live in Europe, London session is probably not bad. We do get some good London sessions sometimes. It's not terrible. However, with that being said, I don't trade it. I don't really go over it too much. And give me 1 second, I got a cough. And that's that. So, again, you'll have to experiment. If you live in Europe, experiment, trade this, see how you like it. I personally like New York the best because that's what I trade. And that's that. Asia session. Do not trade Asia, okay? Asia is meant to consolidate. And that's where going to lead me on to my next point, okay? Asia usually consolidates. That's why I don't trade it. Now, there's a little, let's say, pattern or little rule that typically can happen with the kill zones. All right, let me show you something. If we know Asia typically consolidates, and why might Asia consolidate? Well, Asia consolidates because there's not much volume during it. Who the hell is trading it at 8 o'clock to midnight? Not a lot of people. That's why it consolidates. Okay, so if we know Asia consolidates, we don't want to trade it. That being said, if we look at a diagram like this, okay, typically what will happen is Asia, as you can see in this picture, which it's not going to show me, but as you can see in this picture, let me just open it up in a new image and expand it. Asia will be the accumulation stage, okay? So this is where we typically accumulate, and that's why we get consolidation. Now, London and New York will typically be one of two things, manipulation or distribution, and then this will be distribution, okay, typically. Not always is that going to do that, but that's how it generally works. Now, you don't need to know this though, because here's the thing. Here's what's wrong with YouTube in my mind, in Instagram Shorts. You're going to see a video that's going to be like, oh, this Asia's usually accumulation, manipulation is for London, whatever. And then the one day it doesn't go like that, or we just um, like here, you can't even tell. Here, we kind of, everything looks like accumulation. We just go, it's kind of a little broadening formation as you see in the strat here. So the one day if this happens, you're like, well, I thought that New York was supposed to manipulate and it doesn't happen. That's because you have to play what you see. You're not going to get something like this every time. Although it could be common, do not trade based off of, okay, New York has to be distribution. Because let's say that you're trading and let's say that let's say London goes down and we go below the Asia low. And you're like, okay, London hit the Asia low. This should be our manipulation leg. Because again, if we know anything about what we just saw, this diagram here, okay, then what should happen is we manipulate during London, and then we have to go up in New York. Like you have to. That if that's your mindset, you're gonna fail because you need to play what you see. Now, let's say you think we have to go up during New York, and let's say you see a big giant fair value gap right here that's sitting here. It looks like a nice little tasty dinner, and then all of a sudden it just gets violated. Right? It just gets wrecked through. Do you really think we're gonna go up to high day after that? No. You have to play what you see. And clearly this is one of those candles that's like, okay, even if I think the bias is bullish, why would you think we're going to go up after violating a fair value gap like this? It's just not the case. So then maybe you'd expect low a day, and then maybe you look for a reversal. But you have to play what you see. It's not going to be this simple every time. We're not just going to get like a textbook long setup or a textbook short setup right away. Take this with a grain of salt. Just know that this can be a characteristic of something, but don't depend your whole trading strategy on like this, because this is just kind of a guide that should maybe steer you in the right direction, but it's not going to be something that's going to be used every day. And whenever you watch a YouTube video, whenever you watch any of that, like that teaches this, it says, oh, this has to happen, blah, blah, blah. And it just, you're going to get wrecked trying to make this happen perfectly every time, because someone's going to be like, oh, I'm going to long this. This should go up here. This should be we should bounce, whatever. Maybe this fair value gap, they think that because they're like, oh, well, we hit low day, we hit London low. If New York should manipulate, we should go up here, whatever. And that's where people get caught off guard because they're not actually playing the price action they see in front of them. Now, to get more technical, we have a tiny fair value gap down here. Does this look that obvious? Not really. I mean, it doesn't look obvious to me. So would you rather long something like this, or would you rather long something like this, where this is like this just looks like a much better market structure shift in my opinion. So we kind of swept liquidity here, we swept the lows, and then you kind of see a very bullish market structure shift. What looks more bullish? Okay, longing this market structure shift here, or longing this little pullback here after we really haven't shifted structure over any major lower high? Well, definitely this one. And that's just kind of playing what you see and not just basing your whole strategy based off of one single model, thinking, oh, well, this has got to be long if we have to manipulate or distribute during New York. So do you see where I'm going with this? Take it with a grain of salt. It's a model. It's going to guide you somewhat, but don't play what price action is telling you at the end of the day. So obviously, I don't really need to go over the times because you can just use indicators and slowly you'll kind of memorize the times. But I don't trade London. You don't trade. No one should trade Asia. I don't trade London. I only trade New York. Now, typically, if I get a decent move, like a lot of times if I'm streaming and I get like a decent move that I call it an AM, I'll not touch PM and I'll not touch PM lunch and I will not touch PM session. Now, if I'm streaming and I'm just, maybe I take a small scalp, but it wasn't really that much. Maybe I took a small loss, maybe like a 10-point loss, and price action just hasn't been that great. Then I will look to take lunchtime or PM trades, because if you think price action is very hard to read, very choppy, there's not a lot of gaps during the AM session, lunch can typically be much better. So I just want to reiterate, everything I'm saying right now is based off of my findings. This is getting a lot more subjective, and you're going to find your own things based off of AM and lunch and PM. Okay, I've recently had people DMing me saying, "Hey, I found this new thing that aligns with Tokyo, whatever. This is what I'm doing." And I'm like, "Oh, hey, that's great, man. It's probably something you've seen off of Screen Time yourself. It's not. I'm not going to change my strategy and kind of base myself around it, but everything I'm saying, you'll start to pick up. Like you'll start to see like good lunch sessions. ICT says not to trade lunch, but like I said, if we get a really bad AM session, typically lunchtime session can be pretty good." Okay, and you'll just start to slowly pick up on this stuff as you trade longer and longer. So this video is more of like a starting guide to kind of get you into the feel of, okay, here's how sessions work. Here's a time. Let me watch the relationships between sessions. And I think the only thing you really have to know with time is make sure to not trade the low volume crap, okay? Like Asia session, don't trade that. London's fine, this is fine. I think even before 8:30 can be fine. However, if there's 8:30 news, do not trade. Okay, do not trade before 8:30 news because that's not going to go well most of the time. So yeah, that's basically sums it up for this video. I think this video is one of the first videos that's going to make anyone studying realize that you probably, let me guess, like you're probably at the end of the video right now and you're probably like, well, what am I supposed to know? Like you just kind of started giving me a bunch of information. And the answer is this: you're not really supposed to know anything from this video besides the times, and that's when you're going to start to figure out the relationships between all these. And people told me like I was like, well, what are they? Like but people couldn't tell me when I was starting. And I understand why now. I understand it's very subjective. There's a lot of different things to realize, like there's a lot of technicalities that you'll realize, and I can't just tell you, oh, if New York AM does this, then PM should do this, because it's going to be different every single day. Every single day is a new day. Every single day is a new, unique set of price that's coming at you, and you're going to slowly figure out, looking at these sessions through Screen Time, what should really happen. And again, I'm giving you the times. I'm telling you what they are. I'm telling you that there's more volume during these. I'm telling you these are the times you ideally want to trade, but you can bend the rules a little bit and like trade lunchtime if AM price action's bad or whatever. Okay. PM session. You can trade PM session. Okay. PM session isn't terrible either. I actually think PM session has been better as of lately. I'm not sure why. Maybe because we're near all-time highs, but honestly has not been that terrible lately. Okay. My guess is I think it's because we're all-time highs, to be honest. That's my guess. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions. You're going to start figuring stuff on your own after this, but this is just me giving you the information to kind of you understanding what a kill zone is. And yeah, the one other thing I will say about kill zones, and by the way, if you made it this far in the video, comment the word liquidity. But the one other thing I will say in this video is regarding liquidity is most major liquidity will be run during a kill zone. And that's another reason why I like trading inside the kill zones, because you're not going to see a major pool of liquidity really ran outside of a kill zone. And that's just a characteristic. That's another thing I've kind of figured out. So Asia will typically not run any major liquidity, but I see London and I see New York run a lot of major liquidities all the time. Outside of those times, not as much, but 80% of the time, any major liquidity such as an external high, which is right here, which I talked about in my liquidity video. This is external because it's outside of the range. This will be typically ran during a kill zone, not outside a kill zone, if that makes sense. So that is all I got for today. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Peace.